Hey, it's Cousin Tim in Missouri. What we're going to do today is smoke a brisket. It's not your normal big packer style brisket. It has been trimmed by the meat cutter at our local grocery store. It's about 5 pounds. It's got a little bit of the flat on there, a little bit of the point on there. It's going to have some lean meat, going to have a little bit of the nice moist meat, but it is a smaller cut, and we're going to hope to get this done in about 6 hours. So come on, let's see if we can do that. Okay, so here's this little 5-pound brisket here. I took a whole bunch of fat out of here, this interconnected fat in here. But I want to leave some of this in here because I think that this little bitty piece of meat is going to need some of this moisture from this fat so it doesn't dry out so much. But here we got this part of the point down here. Got this flat part on top. I think we're going to be able to have some, it's just the 3 of us. So we'll probably have enough to make us good brisket sandwiches out of this. I'm gonna fold this end up in here to give this more of a uniform roast kind of size. And then I'm gonna go on here with some of my barbecue rub that I make. Got salt, pepper, garlic, paprika, onion powder, a little bit of everything in here, but it's a good general purpose. Barbecue rub. Smell that garlic and onion powder in it. Gonna go in here with a light dusting of it. Make sure you get it on the sides. Got a little bit of brown sugar in this to help with that bark. Let's get some of that up in here. Get some flavor up inside that meat. Alright, and then I'm going to go over the top of this with some of this hardcore carnivore black. It'll build a nice dark crust on here. A little secret weapon if you want to build a nice dark crust on your meat. This is a really good product to buy. A little peppery, got a little bit of activated charcoal in it. Give you a nice, even, dark crust on your meat whenever you smoke it. So, alright. This glove back on here. Pat that in there. Get on the sides real good. All right, we're going to let this set on here for about 10 minutes. Let it start tacking up some. Meantime, I'm going to go get a water pan, get on this Pit Boss over here, down on the bottom rack. Get some water in it. And then we're going to put this up on the top rack. We're going to let it smoke at 225. Probably let it go for 2.5–3 hours. We'll check the temperature. If it's up to 170 by then internally, take it off and wrap it. Probably put some beef tallow in there with it. And if we need to along the way, we'll spritz it with some apple cider vinegar. So be back soon when we're putting it on the smoker. All right, so I got that water pan in there, getting ready to put this brisket on. To me, this water pan is going to serve 2 purposes for this. I have never smoked a brisket on this Pit Boss. So what Pit Boss, if you're not familiar with them, is there's a burner box down in here that the pellets feed into, and you get a little hot spot right here. So what I'm hoping for with this pan being in here is to disperse some of that heat from being like right here. So when I put this brisket up here, that one end of it is not going to get like scorched because it's right over that fire pot. But anyway, this will also help when it steams up, help keep this brisket nice and moist as we're cooking it. So I'm gonna go up on here, put this brisket right over that water pan. We're gonna let this roll, like I said, for about 2.5–3 hours. Check the temp. If we're hitting about 170, we'll pull that off and wrap it up. So, and again, If need be, if it starts drying out a little bit on there, I'll start spritzing it with some apple cider vinegar. So let's see if we can get this little 5-pound brisket done in about 6 hours. Be back soon. All right, we're about 2.5 hours into this. That's some nice fat rendering going on in there. This bark is starting to sit up good. It's starting to dry out a little bit on the top, so I'm gonna go ahead and spritz this with some apple cider vinegar. I got equal parts apple cider vinegar and water in here. Really just want the moisture on there. That vinegar is going to give it a little sweet, tangy taste of that bark. Goes really good with that seasoning that's on there. It's going to make that taste really good. Let me get this done. I'm going to pull this out here a little bit so I can get to the top. Get it nice and moist. I can let this go for another 45 minutes or so, and then I'm going to temp it, see if we can start wrapping this up. I think this is going to be done maybe 5 hours or so. It's looking good though. Be back soon. All right, we've been going about 4.5 hours on this brisket here. Getting ready to wrap it up. It really is looking pretty good in there. So what I'm gonna do is wet this paper down, and we're gonna wrap it in with some of this apple cider vinegar. Make this paper a little more pliable, easier to manage when we go to wrap this up. All right, there we go. There's our brisket. Look at that bark on there. Whew. Look at that juice in there. This thing's coming along nice. We're probably gonna go another 1.5 hours probably on this. Get it up to temp, and then we'll get it off, let it rest, and slice it up and eat it for dinner tonight. But I'm gonna throw this on here and wrap this thing up. It's a little different than a full-size packer, like I said. This thing's gonna probably be pretty easy to wrap up, being as small as it is. Tuck them ends in. Pull that sides up. All right, there we go. Your wrapped up brisket. We're gonna let that go for another 1.5 hours, 2 hours maybe. We'll be looking at close to 6 hours probably on this, letting it get done all the way through. But that'll be enough for us to eat for dinner tonight. So get this back in the smoker. See you soon. All right, this brisket's been in for probably 6.5 hours. Went a little longer than I anticipated, but that's all right. It did reach an internal temperature of 205, so what we're going to do is take it off at this point, and we are going to let it rest for about an hour, 1.5 hours before we slice it up and have it for dinner tonight. So stick around and look at how it looks when I slice into it. So be back soon. All right, moment of truth is here. Remember, this is a 5-pound brisket. Got a little bit of the flat on top, got some point on the bottom. I'm gonna separate these two, and then you can see how this turned out. Now this point part is what they normally turn into burnt ends. Let's cut that right there. Look at that. Holy smokes, that's juicy. Don't mind if I eat this other piece too. That's what we've been looking for right there. Let's cut into this flat. Slice down the side of this. Now this part seems to be most of the time a little bit leaner and drier than the point part, but what you want is that right there. Look at that. That smoke ring on there. How's it pull apart? Tender as can be. Yeah, buddy. 6-hour brisket. Tender. Juicy. My goodness. What comes from having some Texas in your roots? My goodness. Ask your butcher if he can cut you up one of these little 5-pound briskets. Look at that. My. See y'all soon. I'm gonna go eat a sandwich.